Flames keep rolling. Dylan and Chris are going to get into the last 3 games. Come and join the party.
Well, Chris, how about that? Flames continue rolling, like you said, and now we're in a playoff spot. We're in the second wild card spot, just like we all wanted.
The home of the Flames.
Yeah.
On the cusp of the second wild card spot.
It's not like being under 500 and being in the playoff spot isn't any sort of a mask or a facade of any sort of success, hey?
Right. The the entire league is just kind of in shambles, right? There's effectively like 7 or 8 top tier teams, and then everybody else is what it appears to be from what I'm looking at.
It's pretty ridiculous, and like there's like I know we're only 22 or whatever games in here, but like you look at the standings, it's everyone's really close. Like,
yeah,
you know, the Penguins are at 21 points and they're in 6th in the East, and they're only 2 points away from the Flyers, who are 3rd. You know what I mean? And in the West, the Ducks are in 6th at 18 points, and we're in 4th at 21, and the Kraken are at 21 as well, right? It's like in the West, it's the Canucks, or in the Pacific rather, it's the Canucks and Kings and Golden Knights, and then everybody else is like a step and a half behind, right?
Yeah,
and you know.
Yeah, I mean,
if you look underneath, what's that?
The top 3 in all the divisions are fairly tight, right? And then everything else that drops below is pretty comical.
Even the Blues and like the Blues and Predators, Coyotes, they're all within 1 point, 2 points of us, right? Like everyone is packed.
Yeah.
So it's a big facade, is what it is. Like, we're all so close, and even though we're technically in a playoff spot, because I don't think any of those teams won tonight, did they?
Nashville got a point, right?
Yeah, Nashville.
Got
but yeah, they were ahead of us. But yeah. So it's pretty crazy how close everything is. But Flames pulled off some big wins against a couple of heavyweights this week, which is pretty impressive. Absolutely rolling the Stars in the 3rd period. After going down 1-0 and then 2-1 and then 3-2, we kind of
4-2.
Yeah, 4-2, and then we ended up winning 7-4. It was a pretty entertaining game. I got to give the Flames credit for that. After the absolute just boring games that we had to watch last year, and even at the beginning of this year, even when they're losing lately, they've been entertaining, and when they're winning, they've been fairly entertaining as well. So that's that's a bonus, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, Dallas now has some serious firepower, which is kind of something they haven't really had in the past. I mean, you've got guys that are really starting to find their place in the NHL, like Robertson and
Johnston
Johnson. Yeah, exactly. So
and
there's some players that are going to be pretty elite for a long time in Dallas. So you know, in the fact we're able to kind of tune them up in the third period like we did, and you know, not only get back into the game but just completely embarrass them in their home barn was phenomenal. It really
yeah.
was. It was a really fun game to watch. There was a lot of pace to it on both sides. It was yeah, but then once the third period happened, the Flames just simply took over.
Yeah, and like even like their depth is insane. They have third liners that would be on our first line. You know, Matt Duch or first or second line at least. Um, no, they've got Matt Duchene on there and Mason Marchment and Tyler Sagan. You know, those guys would all be second to first liners for us right now.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, yeah, we
and
would probably put Sagan on the first line just for his name alone, right?
that is kind of what we do. Um, However, our depth kind of killed it this game. It was really good. Um, was this the one that no Markstrom let the first was this the one that Markstrom let the first shot in
Yeah,
113? It
sounds
looks
right.
like it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember a bunch of people arguing online about it about how it's he's been doing that all year and he's done it a few times. It's like I'm almost positive that's the first time this year. I even remember at the beginning of the year we were all discussed like we were all making fun of it for the first like 4 games that he played. We were all like, "Holy smokes, he's made one! Holy shit, he's made 2! Holy shit, he's made 3!" And but
Well, the PTSD that we had from last year. I mean, his first 5 starts easily. It was just like pins and needles watching that first shot come into him. Right? So is this the one? No, no. Okay, we're good.
uh,
We're good. Yeah, yeah. It's obviously been a much better year for Markstrom. Even though his numbers
he's
are
901,
good,
which is not great, but
way
it's
it, yeah, it's way below league average. And he has had a lot of soft goals this year, but he's also made some big saves as well.
yeah. Um, he's definitely made and he's held us in games, right? Like even at the beginning of the season when the team was absolutely terrible at the zone defense, and now they're like not terrible, but still not good at it. um,
Well, I mean, I think they're actually good, fairly good at it in like as it is right now. I just don't like the system. I don't think the system is a good system for your defensemen or for your forwards in your own zone.
I
Like,
guess, I mean, it works for some teams, and I think that's one of the problems is that like Edmonton's doing it too. Like a bunch of teams have decided to um, copycat, uh, the cup winning Vegas Golden Knights who did it last year, the zone defense. And for some reason, everyone's all like, "Oh yeah, now we should do it." But most of those teams have been fairly bad this year, like us and Edmonton, right?
mhm.
Uh, but
Uh, they-
it is what it is. Like you're right, they're getting way better at it. I still don't think they're very good at it. I think they're still hesitating too much and throwing the puck to where guys are supposed to be, and it just ends up being where the opponent is way too often.
yeah, I don't think the zone um, defense works unless you're a really good team at exiting the zone. And the
Hmm.
Flames have struggled with that for many years.
I think that's their biggest problem this year
Mhm.
is zone exits.
Yeah.
Um, that and the power play, but we'll get into that. Um,
What do you
so this
what on
Dallas
earth
game
are you talking about?
was that.
What on earth could you be talking about?
Well, I don't even know what the number's at right now, but we were 0 for 20 something at one point. I don't know if it's up to 30 yet because it's been painful to keep track of, but we were 0 for 20 something at some
Yeah.
point. It's just they can't, nobody's moving on the power play. And to me, it's something, they were good at that 1 year, 2 years ago. With the Gaudreau and Kachuk and Lindholm line that was so good, and they were always moving, and Kachuk was dragging them in and all that type of stuff. And now that for some reason this team looks like teams before on the power play where they just everyone's within like a 5 foot radius of their spot and they're not moving around enough in order to get to drag defenders out of position or to open up passing lanes or open up shooting lanes or try and fool. They're all just standing relatively still and they're just way too easy to defend. It's painful to watch.
It's super painful to watch. Do you know where NHL.com has them listed for the power play? Can you venture a guess on what their percentage is?
Like 11.
Yeah, 11.3.
Yeah, I heard Greg Millen say it on the last broadcast. It was at around 11. So
yeah, and oddly enough, we're not even the worst, which is mind blowing to me. The worst is the Capitals at 5.7.
with Ovechkin, who doesn't move.
Right, right.
Yeah.
That's just we're 27th in the league on the power play, and it shows. I'm actually, like I said, I'm surprised that we're even listed as that high.
What's the Capitals percentage? Did you say it?
5.7.
Oh my God, how is that even possible? They scored one power play all season.
It's pretty gross, isn't it?
Yeah, that's ridiculous. But any power play, like even bad teams should have a power play of 17, 18, 19%.
Yeah.
Like at least, in my opinion.
Their goals for per game is like second last in the league at 2.3.
Ours or Washington?
Washington.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's been a tough watch there. I drafted Ovechkin in one of our leagues there, and it's been a rough go. That's for sure. I mean, he's still shooting the lights out. He's just not scoring. Is what it is.
Yep.
Anyways,
Exactly.
Stars game. How about AJ Greer, who's been on a bit of a tear? Like, scored his third of the season that game. Honestly, the fourth line absolutely killed it this game. But Greer has kind of underrated in tight ability to raise the puck up high. Hey.
Yeah, and he's very effective up close to the goalie, like very effective. He's hard to move out of there, and he's certainly not afraid to get dirty in the in the slaughter and even up against the net. Like it's really fun to watch him play. I like what he brings to the team. He brings a lot of grit. He brings a lot of emotion, and he's kind of doing what Dewar was doing last year on the fourth, and that's just bringing his entire line into a dogfight. But he's getting the results like Dewar was last year.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think he's a little bit less creative than Dewar was last year, but Dewar's also been relatively invisible this year to the point where he's been scratched for several games.
Mhm. Yeah, like Greer definitely belongs on the fourth line. He's definitely a fourth line player.
Yes.
But if you can get points out of your fourth line like we have been getting in the last week, anyways, then it's great. If you're not if your top two lines aren't going to be putting the puck in the net, then obviously you need that secondary scoring and
Like we got 5 points out of our fourth line against Dallas.
right.
That's yeah. Greer got 2, Dubé got 1, Ruziska got 2.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I
because
was
both Greer and Ruziska had a goal and an assist, and Dubé had an assist.
yeah.
And how about Igor Sharangovich, man? Like,
That was a great game by him.
yeah, and I think he's actually the last game he was relatively in I don't want to say invisible, but he wasn't as effective as he has been the previous few games. But
Yeah,
against Dallas, he really popped. He scored a really nice goal. He's been the only guy who takes one timers, and
yeah.
he's got a really underrated shot. I think fans are finally starting to see it now that he's kind of gotten comfortable in Calgary a little bit, and he's getting a little bit more ice time. I think that the shootouts have really shown his ability to shoot, and I think that that's made the fans watch him more 5-on-5. And
Yeah.
yeah, he's been pretty good.
He's been really good. I mean, obviously he played just over 200 games for the Devils over 3 years. Didn't put up huge numbers, but definitely respectable numbers given
Had like a
his
25 goal season, didn't he?
yeah 24 back in the 21-22 season.
Yeah,
Um, but I mean through 4 years, including um,
this
the
year.
22 games he's played this year. He's got 58 goals and 58 assists, right? So
Oh,
he's
really?
he's
So he's
just
even.
yeah, and he's just over um, uh, zero point 0.5 goals per game, which is you know it's not staggering numbers, it's not phenomenal numbers, but I think he's only going to get better. He's
Yeah,
he's 25 years old, and I think the next 5 years are going to be really key for him. I think he's creative. He's willing to shoot, which is obviously something as fans we want to see more of, especially on like the power play and
he
things like
wins
that.
puck battles too, and he's
Yeah,
not slow. Um, he has he has the tools to be a very effective, middle six second liner, I'd say, um, on a
yeah,
good team. I think he's got the tools to be a second liner on a good team. He's just got to kind of put it all together and be consistent. Kind of like what we've always said about Ruziska,
mhm,
except I think Sharon Govich has already shown the ability to be more consistent than Ruziska. And if Ruziska could just put it together, he would be so good, man. He's got like Ruziska has all of the tools. He just doesn't have the give a fuck.
yeah. I was gonna say like if we can get Adam to give a shit and put in the effort, like say Dubé and Mangiapane, he would be unstoppable.
Yeah,
I
but
mean, like I'm definitely at a point now where both the two players I just mentioned can play elsewhere.
yeah,
They both look lost out there. They don't belong. They try real hard, but they, in my opinion, just do not have the ability.
yeah. I'm a Dubé fan, but
Mhm.
I'm not really a Mangiapane fan. Uh, I wish Dubé would get more than a a shift here and there in the top six and actually get the chance to get something going, because I do think that he would be able to. But they just seem to be like, nope, you're a fourth liner, and that's what you are. And then when somebody gets hurt, you can pop up there for a couple shifts, and then when they come back, you can go back down to the fourth line. And I just don't understand it, because he's not a, he's not Greer, right? Like, he's not a fourth line style player, in my opinion. And he's not he's a natural center, but he's way better on the wing, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's definitely better on the wing. I mean, he had some flashes last year when he was playing with Kadri, where I really started to pay attention to him more, and I was kind of excited for him potentially
Breaking out a bit.
breaking out, taking a step in his development. And I mean, I'll be honest, like, I have very much disliked almost every single game he's played this year. Like, I have not seen anything that shows me he belongs above line 3 at all this season.
Well, I mean, he hasn't played above line 3 at all this season, so there's that.
Well, he started the year on the top and second line and worked his way down. Like, he caused that. Like, there is definitely a reason why he got bumped down the lineup, in my
Well, he
opinion.
started the first game on the first line, or the second
Mhm.
game or something like that on the first line, and then got moved down within 2 shifts. Like, he doesn't
Sure.
get the chance to do it. I see
No,
what you're
but
saying, because
like,
that's what
but
I
it,
said about Bennett that whole time that he was in Calgary. And I've started to realize that kind of the reasons, other than the penalties with Bennett, but the reasons that I used to argue with people about Bennett all the time, with him being not given the chance on the first or second line, and then I'd be like, well, he never fucking did anything on the first or second line, is kind of how I'm trying to defend Dubé, and it's kind of hypocritical, so I'm trying to not do it as much, but I just did for like 5 minutes, so there's that.
yeah, I mean, like, in my opinion, I don't think that it's not that he couldn't do anything. I literally think he was one of the worst players on the ice and deserved to be moved down.
Fair
Like,
enough.
that game that I watched him play against the Islanders was probably like the worst hockey I've ever seen him play. It was mind blowing how out of touch he was with the entire team for where he was on the ice. And like, he was just skating in circles for no
Yeah.
reason whatsoever other than to just skate. It was actually quite frustrating. I was hoping that they were just going to sit him on the bench for most of the second and third.
Oh, they've done that quite a few times to him and Sorry and Ruziska, and at times Greer. So that's one thing I've actually really enjoyed about Huska is, I mean, first of all, when somebody's injured, like Zari, and is not effective because he's been injured, he'll sit him on the bench instead of continuing to play him. And when players aren't effective for the most part, um, he'll sit him on the bench at least for uh, a period or whatever. And it's there's actually some accountability within Huska's coaching style that I've somewhat enjoyed, and I think it's made some of the players a little bit better over the past maybe 10 games.
Yep. Yeah, I agree with that 100%. We've been talking about accountability because we keep acquiring coaches that speak about accountability, but we never see it.
Yeah.
And so it's actually refreshing to see him follow through with that style.
We also had a shit ton of players who talk about it but don't actually take it. So there's that. But no, you're totally right. Now, as for Mangiapane, he's just every once in a while he's in the right place at the right time, but for the most part he's falling down and trying
Yeah,
really hard and not actually succeeding at all that much. I think we can
yeah,
both agree on that one.
yeah, absolutely. Every time I see him, go into the corner with the puck. I mean, I immediately know he's not coming out of the corner with the puck
Yeah.
because he never does.
Um.
It's really unfortunate that he's paid $5 million.
Yeah. You know what's isn't it almost 6? Isn't it like 5'8"?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. You know who's been really good for us of late? Actually, pretty much all year, and who actually scored his first goal against his hometown team in however many years he's played in the NHL is Blake Coleman. He's been one of the best players for us. Had the team over for Thanksgiving dinner, and then came out the next day and scored. Was that the game winner or the game tire? That was the game tire, I think.
Sounds
No,
right.
that was the game winner.
Was it the game
No,
winner?
no, that was the game tire. Sorry. Yeah, the 4-4 goal.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, Lindholm with the winner.
Yeah. But Coleman's just been a steady guy, man. He comes in and does his job. He takes maybe a little bit more penalties than I'm comfortable with, but he also is just a really solid two-way player. And he's been scoring this year. Like he last I checked, he leads the team in goals, so
Yeah.
that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's been a really effective player this season. In most games, he's noticeable for the right reasons.
Yeah.
Man, 6 goals this year. Look at him. What a stud.
Yeah.
he's, he's well on his way for career high.
In goals, yeah, for sure.
Bet the action on the ice with DraftKings Sportsbook. A couple of the games coming up in the NHL this week. We got the Calgary Flames versus the Nashville Predators, both coming in at -110. Got the Winnipeg Jets versus Tampa Bay Lightning, both also coming in at -110. Got the Edmonton Oilers versus the Carolina Hurricanes. Hurricanes coming in at -142. Got the New York Devils versus Detroit Red Wings. Devils coming in at -155. Download the app now and use code THPN. New customers can get $150 instantly in bonus bets for betting just $5 on hockey. That's code THPN. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. The crown is yours. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. That's 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction. It's void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.com/hockey for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources. NHL and the NHL Shield are registered trademarks of the NHL League. Copyright NHL 2023. All rights reserved.
Well, let's move on to the next game, man. We went from Dallas back to back with travel all the way to Denver, which I hear is quite the travel day, because they wouldn't stop talking about it on the broadcast or on the radio or anything about how much travel that is. Both teams were on back to backs, and in classic fashion, Colorado decided to play a goalie who's only played a couple games in the NHL ever, and he made an absolute fool out of the Flames players.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I mean, he didn't
I
make
mean,
a whole bunch of awesome saves, but he did make
no,
29 out of
exactly.
30.
I mean, I was gonna say, like in typical Flames fashion, we pepper a lot of shots from the perimeter and wonder why none of them are going in while we have nobody in front of the net.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
it's a
also in
pretty easy recipe for success on Colorado's part if they can just keep you to the outside
100%.
uh,
And
mm,
and to be fair, well, no, sorry, not even to be fair. Just in typical Flames fashion, they were down 2-0, and Backlund scores to make it 2-1, and the team's all excited and goes to drop the puck on the next faceoff, and 34 seconds later lets McKinnon in to have an absolute floater shot that Vladar should have had. In my opinion, there was no tip on that. That was just a floater that he absolutely should have had. But
yeah.
you know,
Yeah, I mean the outcome, like as far as the final on that game, it was, in my opinion, to be expected. I understand that Colorado was also coming off a back to back the second half, um, but
they
we
have
just
more
we
players that can take over games.
exactly, yeah, we don't have a McKinnon, we don't have a McCarr, like we don't have
Rantanen,
those guys, and Rantanen, yeah, Nikushkin, and yeah, like
yeah,
they have some really solid players. Their top end players are way better than our top end players.
yeah.
Basically, is what that comes down to.
They have
Um,
a few top 10 picks in there, and you know,
yeah.
not it's not like they have 10 years of it on their roster. They have like 3 or 4 first round. And I'm just saying,
Mhm. Mhm.
um,
It seems like a good recipe for building a team is try and acquire some decent high level draft picks. Maybe sit in the wings for a couple of years while you develop and improve your team. Seems like a good system. I hear it works quite well for other teams.
yeah, I mean, it doesn't work for every team. And you hear that a lot, and people will use Edmonton or Buffalo as an example. And sure, it doesn't work for every team, but also, um, if you look at every team that's won in the cap era that's not Vegas, you know, you look at
Mhm.
LA. They had Dowdy Kopitar, and there was one other guy who was like a top 10, top 11 pick. Um, you look at McKinnon and Rantanen, Makar. You look at Vasilevsky. You look at Stamkos. You look at Point, or no, who's the other one there? Um, I mean, they struck it good by drafting Point and Kucherov later as well. But
That helped.
Hedman's the other one,
Yeah, yeah.
and Drouin, who they traded for Sergachev, right? Um, like all these teams who are perennial contenders or won a few cups, or you look at Chicago who won a couple cups, and they had Taves and Kane, and you say what you want about their shitty organization, which continues to be shitty to this literal day, actually. Um, um,
That's what
they
she
at
said.
least they know how to win, right? So
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
uh, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was a. I mean, you don't go. To be fair, where the Flames are as a team, which is insanely mediocre, like always. Um, you don't really expect to go uh, Dallas, Colorado, Vegas in 3 or 4 days, 3 games in 4 days, and win all of them. I mean, it would be nice, but it's not something you expect to do because those are three heavyweight teams who are all cup contenders this year. Um,
Yeah.
so the fact that we won two of them, I guess we should go on to the Vegas game here, but the fact that we won two of them is pretty impressive. And just all sorts of weird shit in this Vegas game, man. Um, First of all, we found out with like an hour before the game that Markstrom was sick. He was supposed to get the start, and then so they told Vladar that he was going to go in, and then Markstrom left the Saddle Dome, and they had to call in their emergency backup goaltender, who luckily didn't have to play, but almost had to play like two or
Yeah.
three times. It
Yeah,
looked like
early on too, and he looked terrified that he was going in.
he
And
did, and then there was another one where I think it was Uyghur crashed, or Hannafin maybe crashed into him,
yeah, Wager
and
did.
took him out
Yeah,
right at the legs later, and like I guess Vladar said to the said to the media there that whichever defenseman that was, like, whispered in his ear as he was down, "You got to get up because otherwise a spotter will take you out of this.
right.
Like, get up right now." um,
Yeah.
but
I
good
I
story
mean,
for
I'm
the
not.
emergency backup. Like, even just to sit at the age of 32, I think he is Dusty Nickel. Um, you
Is he
know,
32? I thought he was 38, but let me check.
oh, I could be way off. I wasn't paying
No,
a
I
whole
think
bunch
you're
of
right. Yeah, he was born in 92. Or sorry, 91.
so 32, yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
sweet.
so yeah, at the age of 32, he to sit on an NHL bench for the first time and probably the only time was probably pretty cool, you know.
Yeah.
So good for him. And this is the first game this year that I can honestly say Vladar played good, like even good. But he was lights out. He was really
It,
good, especially
it
considering
was,
he was knocked out a couple times almost.
oh
Like
yeah,
knocked out of the
taken
game.
out a couple times, found out an hour and a half before puck dropped that he was playing. Um, there's so many reasons for him to have looked bad in this game, but man, did he look good. I mean, he let that that first one in, and but immediately following that, he just shut the door.
He made
Like
a
he just
lot of really good saves, and one thing I noticed about him in this game is that he looked confident after that. I wonder if him getting bowled over a couple times kind of kept his head in the game a little more because he also seemed like he was rubbing saves in the faces of the opposing players, which I don't think I've ever really seen him do.
no, he's never really been that flashy guy either. But I mean, he was flashing the leather a
Mm-hmm.
lot. Um, just like multiple 10 bell saves, multiple. Like,
Yeah,
and like that game should have been easily 5-2.
I mean we did outshoot them 34-28. I don't know if like you're saying 5-2 for Vegas.
Yeah.
I don't. I mean, I'm not sure if we deserved really to win that game, but I don't think 5-2 is indicative of how the game was played. I think maybe like 3-2 or something was indicative of how the game was played. But Vladar, I mean, credit where it's due, right? Like I think he's been absolutely fucking terrible for the year, but
Mm.
this game, if he can put together 3 or 4 games like this, or even close to this, that trade value goes way up.
Does, but I mean, is he on the block?
You'd think
Does it
so.
make sense? Does it make sense to trade him right now?
I think it makes sense to trade him in the next couple years. Or sorry, not in the next couple years. In the next couple months. Like I don't think it makes sense to trade him right now, but I think it makes sense to trade him by the deadline type of thing.
In your opinion, why does it make sense to get to trade him before or around the deadline, around that time, or even this year at all?
Because and you know that I don't want Wolf sitting on the bench for the entire season and only playing 20 games, but I feel like um Wolf is going to get a couple more games in here while Vladar is still playing for us, in my opinion. And I think we're going to see him do pretty well. And I mean, obviously, I have to see it first, but I think, I think it would be a mistake to keep Vladar for the rest of the season and not give Wolf his due. Um, and I think that if you trade Wolf, or sorry, if you trade Vladar around the trade deadline, around, not at, but around. I hate it when teams wait for the deadline to do shit. But yeah, I just kind of think that you Wolf would have had a whole shitload of games in the AHL already, and then if he's sitting on the bench for what's left after the deadline, like 20 games or something like that, if he gets five games in the last 26 games in the last 20, I think that's okay. I don't really mind that at all.
Yeah.
Obviously you have to see Wolf come in and play well a couple more times. But
Well,
I don't think like Wolf's one game this year wasn't great, but it's was also better than five of Vladar's six or whatever. You know what I mean? I think Vladar's played six. I'd have to look again, but it's Wolf's one game was better than all of Vladar's except for this Vegas game, in my opinion.
yeah, Lenar's played 7 and has won 4. Um,
Yeah.
so right this year so far, Wolf has worst numbers in the A than he's ever had
Yeah.
at 916 in the save percentage area. Um, he's 22 years old, and I don't think he's ready. He's going to have to sit for majority of the time on the bench because he's not the starter. Um,
Yeah, which is why
but
I don't want him to come in right away. Sorry, you go ahead.
yeah, I I honestly don't think he's ready, like at all. I think bringing him in at this point will ruin his career,
You
and
think so, eh?
he'll end up taking the path of John Gillies, who was the other AHL stud that we had in the team, and we brought him in and forced him into games, and he wasn't ready. And where is he now? Like
Yeah,
I
I
just
think that's a little bit different. John Gillies was never a multiple award winner or
sure,
an all-star.
yeah, that's fair. Um, the other thing you have to consider is Vladar still has another year on his contract after this season. So it's not even part of the like the UFAs that we need to get rid of and get assets for. I don't I honestly don't see the need to trade Vladar at all. I would rather there be a situation where we can potentially trade Markstrom for a really good return while eating a bunch of his salary, and then have a 1A, 1B in Vladar and Wolf.
You know
I
what?
would much rather that situation personally.
I don't mind that either. I just think it's less possible and less probable. But I wouldn't mind that either. Having more of a tandem with Vladar and Wolf would be fine with me. I just don't see that happening. Um, first of all, Markstrom has to agree to be traded wherever he would go, and then Conroy would have to try and get like a good return from that. And I do think that Markstrom's played well enough to get a pretty decent return, but I'm not sure that that's going to happen this year. But that is by the way, that is my preferred situation.
Yeah.
I just don't
I mean,
see it happening.
if we start trading away our UFAs for big return and Markstrom sees that's happening, I think he would sign away that no move real quick.
To certain teams, but how many of those teams don't have a starting goalie and would be willing to pay $4 million? Assuming that we hold two of it,
Yeah, or I mean, whole three of it. I don't give a shit. There's only a couple of
because
years
if
left
you're
in it,
looking at
right?
the deadline, how many competitive teams don't have a goalie that's decent?
No, that's. I mean, I get that, but
Yeah.
I mean, how many Stanley Cup teams do it with only one goalie too? I mean, I don't know. Like you don't know what the injury situation's going to be
Oh no, absolutely.
in February and whatnot. I just am, and also the thing to consider, like what are we going to get for Vladar? A third, maybe.
$2 million. That's
That's
all he's worth right now
that's
is the cap
that's
space.
what do we need cap space for? We're not going and getting players, so that means nothing.
Um,
I'm talking about the actual return, something that's usable
I
for the
don't
for the
think he's worth
organization.
anything, and I don't think he's
Yeah.
going to be worth anything at all for the rest of the year. But I do think that I think that he's more likely to be moved than Markstrom. But you're right. I would like to see. I would rather Markstrom be the guy moved, but I don't see that happening. Um, I just want to bring this up too. Obviously, every player's path to the NHL is different. Um,
Mhm.
but quite often people use the UC Saros thing with Wolf, right? Because he's smaller goaltender, kind of brought in um, around the same age. So Saros had 2.5 years, not even in the AHL, and his last and he had a few NHL games in the middle of that, but he did not have like a whole he had the 2 years of junior, and then he had um 38 games 1 year in Milwaukee, and then 15 games the next year in Milwaukee, and then 9 games the next year in Milwaukee, and then he was a full-time backup for a year or 2 years, and then he was splitting with Rene. So again, and his save percentage in the minors for his last stint there was 906, and then he came out and had a 915, a 914, and a 927 in his first 3 years as a full-time backup.
Mhm.
So, and again, I'm not saying that is how Wolf will come up and be. I'm just saying that writing him off could be a mistake, and writing him off doesn't, saying he's going to be a superstar right away is dumb, but saying that he's not going to be good or that he's not ready, we don't know yet. And I would like to see. That's why I said a few times there, I want to see if I want to see him in like 5 more games here
Yeah,
before
and
either
and
Vladar or
I
Markstrom gets traded.
well, yeah, obviously you need to see him in games, right?
Yeah.
Like they can't trade anybody until they know that he can play the 5 games, right?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously that makes sense. Nobody's writing him off.
Yeah.
I just don't think at this point, based on what I've seen of him in the NHL, I don't think he's ready.
Fair
I
enough.
don't think he's looked even good, let alone good enough. Like
I don't
I've
think he
not
was.
been impressed with him at all.
I don't think he was bad in that one game he played this year, and he definitely he didn't have all that much in that game against the Sharks last year in the last game because the Sharks didn't give a fuck, um, and we didn't give a fuck either. But you know, I don't think he's I don't think he's ready to be a starter, but I don't think he's not ready to be a backup. We have to see.
Yeah, and honestly, I from an organization standpoint, I think we need to get rid of our goaltending coach for the Flames. I guess he's the manager of the goaltending.
Siglet.
Uh, Siglet, I think he needs to go. We've had too many goaltenders come into this organization that have essentially that has ended their careers effectively,
Right down the
and bring
toilet.
like 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 night and day as soon as they come into this organization,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm worried that's going to happen to Dustin Wolf.
From what I gather, Siglet has become more of a scout, and it's basically LaBarbera doing the last 2 years doing Siglet's old job. But
Mhm.
to be fair, um, he did a pretty fucking piss poor job of it last year. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. I mean, like we've seen so many goaltenders that have come into this club, and whether they were really good in the past for their other NHL clubs, or if they've been brought up through the A here, then it just as soon as they get into this organization, it just goes to shit.
because Siglet's been here, and I agree. We've talked about Siglet on this podcast several times. It's been a while, but we definitely talked about him a couple times last year, several times the year before.
Mm.
Um, but you look at I don't Jonas Hiller, Mike
Yeah.
Smith wasn't terrible, but he wasn't good. Cam
Brian
Talbot
Elliott.
wasn't bad, but also wasn't great. And I actually wouldn't have minded keeping Talbot. David Riddick had some chops and then got into a more full time system in the NHL, and then kind of uh, went down the tubes. Kerry Ramo, I thought was going to be something, and then wasn't. Um, you know, you're right.
Yeah.
You're totally I'm
Yeah.
not arguing
Like
that at all.
like the list goes on, right? I
Yeah.
think honestly the Flames need to do themselves a favor and just get rid of them so we can properly develop our goaltenders and and
Yeah,
and move forward with some greatness. Uh,
that's fair. I do think that at the very least, and I want to know what you think about this. Um, I think at the very least, we need to bring Wolf up at some point and give him a stretch of 3 out of 5 games at the very least.
yeah,
Maybe three
I
out of
have
six.
I have zero problem with doing that.
Okay.
Like you have to see what you have before you get rid of what you currently are employing, right?
Yeah, and I'd like to see the same with our defensemen. I want to see Yan Kuznetsov come up. I want to see a little bit more of Ilya Solovyov, who I thought was pretty good. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's too bad Jeremy Poirier went down. I don't think he's ready, but it's too bad because I would have liked to have seen him. Like we could really use a dynamic puck mover for the and a feet mover as well for the power play, right?
Yeah.
Um, but I'd like to see some of those guys come up and get their shot. Um, Even if it's 2, 3, 4 games, just so you can at least see flashes of what you have before you start moving Tanev, Hanf, and Zadorov, which you need to start doing, in my opinion, because you can't leave them all till the deadline.
Well, I feel like we've kind of done that this year. Like we've had three, is it three now? It might be four defenders that have. No, it has been four this year. Um, that we've brought in. So I'm happy the fact that they've done that
You
because you're
mean
right.
Gilbert, DeSimone, and
Yeah,
Sloviov?
yeah, and Australia and
Oh,
you know,
Australia. Australia was just a fucking 1 year free agent thing, though. I don't
yeah,
consider him a prospect or a seeing what you have. I consider him a stopgap guy that they signed to come in and be a seventh defenseman for a year.
yeah.
Um, which, to
I,
be
I
fair,
I would
is
still
why
be
they signed
comfortable
Gilbert.
signing him another. Yeah, I'd be comfortable signing Australia to another year based on what I've seen so far.
I'm kind of disappointed that they sent Simone down. I know why they did it. I think I know why they did it. Haven't been told otherwise, but um, it's because Gilbert has a full NHL salary, even if he goes down to the minors, whereas DeSimone makes $400,000 less or so when he goes down. So I think it was more of a money move than anything else. I thought DeSimone had maybe one rough game, but I thought he struggled a lot less than Gilbert has this year. And
Gilbert
don't get me wrong, I
started
still
out
like
well.
Gilbert, but what's that?
Yeah, Gilbert started out really well, but the last couple of games, I found that he's struggled quite a bit.
Yeah. And that's what puzzled me is they sent DeSimone down after they saw Gilbert. Like it's what it would be one thing if they sent DeSimone down and then started playing Gilbert, but they started playing Gilbert, saw that he was struggling for a couple games, and then sent DeSimone down. That's what confused me.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, he's been it's been interesting watching him this year, Gilbert. That is, I mean, I like his toughness and all that, which is that's great and all, but I think he's defensively he's really struggled this year.
yeah, and last year I thought he's got it in him because last year I thought he was steady last year.
Mm,
And I thought to start this year he was steady as well until he went down there.
yeah,
But is what it is.
is what it
Um,
is. It may be too early to start decorating for the holidays, but it's never too early to start your holiday shopping. Why not take care of it now, before the crowds and packed calendars make shopping a total nightmare, especially when you get some of the best deals of the season well before Black Friday. You can shop Raycon products right now and save up to 50% off because their early bird Black Friday sale is going on now. Raycon first made a name for themselves in the audio space with the products like the Everyday Earbuds, known for delivering high quality and thoughtful features, like a 32-hour battery life and a perfect in-ear fit for all-day wear and lasting comfort. And this past year, they expanded their entire business with the introduction of Raycon Home and Raycon Power Tech. The 5-star reviewed Magic 180 cable allows you to charge iOS, micro USB, and Type-C devices 8 times faster with 100-watt power delivery. The faucet filter ultra filters the water in your tap against chlorine and heavy metals. It's a must-have to ensure the water you use to wash your face and brush your teeth is, well, actually clean. Raycon is known for delivering high quality and thoughtful features at half the price of other premium brands. It's no wonder their products have racked up tens of thousands of 5-star reviews. To get everyone in the holiday shopping spirit a bit early, Raycon is currently offering 20% off everything on their website, with select products up to 50% off. So beat the crowds and save now. Trust me, you don't want to miss out on Raycon's early bird Black Friday sale. So beat the crowds and save now. Trust me, you don't want to miss out on Raycon's early bird Black Friday sale. Hurry now to buyraycon.com/THPN to get 20 to 50% off store-wide. That's buyraycon.com/THPN to score up to 50% off Raycon products. Buyraycon.com/THPN.
Was there anything else you wanted to talk about? Anyone you've been specifically impressed with? I guess the Uyghur overtime goal was nice. It was a good, obviously 5 seconds left in the game. It was a good time for him to decide to forget about defense and go on a 200-foot rush.
That was really impressive too, right? With like I'm watching the clock and I'm watching him. I'm like, Christ, get rid of the puck. Come on, get rid of the puck. Yeah, that was really impressive, and that shot, yeah, it was it it was. I was super happy for Mackenzie Weegar, right? He deserves it. He's had a really good season. Like
He's
he's
been our best
really coming
defenseman
into
this
his
year.
own. He absolutely has. Um, and consistently too. Like he's been really good. I think he's turning into a tremendous leader in the locker room. And yeah,
Community as
and
well.
that's 100%. Yeah. As we watched or I watched his video earlier today with what do they call that? The driving around with the player, whatever the hell it is. Um, I was like,
Brandon
oh yeah,
Gallagher,
yeah.
yeah.
Now I know exactly where he lives.
I
I've
know.
looked
I always found it weird
exactly
they
where.
did that
Yeah, it
in
is.
those
It
things.
is. I mean, it's kind of neat where you kind of get to know them a little bit better and that sort of thing. So it's yeah, the coffee shop that they go into. I was there last weekend, so I'm like, yep, I know this place quite well.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's
Yeah,
good to see a little bit of their personality and a bit of their outside of the rink,
mm,
personality. Um, I don't really think it's fair to, get pissed off at guys for not showing that side of them. Like a lot of people say, players don't show anything. It's like, well, yeah, but I'm a different person a lot of the time at work than I am outside of work. There's a reason I don't go to staff parties.
I've been in the service industry for like 27 years.
Yeah.
There is absolutely a different Chris at work. There is a Chris at home.
Yep, the service industry smile, is what it is.
That's right.
We've all had to do it before. I've had to do it as well as
Mhm.
I was a cook. My last gig as a cook was at a cafe where there was a count, like where everybody ordered their food was like right beside where the counter was, or where the kitchen was. So I always got to talk to everyone, smile at 6 in the fucking morning, and just really didn't want to. I just wanted to drink my coffee and bake my bread.
Right. And now you work nights in and you don't have to see anybody. Like that's got to be perfect. That's
I
right up
don't
your alley.
see anybody from 10:01 p.m. until 6 a.m. and then I work 4 more hours with some people who I can just leave if I feel like not talking to them anymore. It's fantastic.
Yeah,
Actually, it's
no doubt.
pretty great.
Yeah, sounds ideal to
um,
me.
so who do you think has been the Flames MVP this season so far? I'm asking you a
Um,
question I don't have an answer to, by the way.
MVP.
Yeah.
God damn it. Um, I think it's got to be Zari. He brought a level of intensity and youthness to the group. It's rejuvenated multiple players, in my opinion. It allowed Huberdeau to be placed with better line mates to fit his style of play.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's it's made Nazem Kadri look like a full-on NHLer for
The
multiple
first
games now.
time in 80 games.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean he's obviously working through something right now, whether it be injury or just whether it be a slump, whatever it is. But his play as a whole, I think, has almost even excited his teammates.
I Yeah, I kind of agree there. I think the most impressive thing about him, because a lot of young guys pop off like that and bring youth to the team and excitement to the team, like even like Peltier did last year. Lots of guys do that around the league, bring excitement to the
Hmm.
team, right?
Yeah.
But I think the most impressive thing about Zari is his poise to make smart plays when he's outnumbered and the rest of his team has gone on either a skate in circles, depending on who he's playing with, or has
Yeah.
gone to the bench, or whatever's like I think Zari has an incredible amount of hockey IQ that
Mhm.
we don't really have a whole bunch of players who have that, and it's really impressive because he's what, 22.
Yeah.
Um, to be able to
Yeah.
do that
And
in your first 11 NHL games is very impressive.
well, it is, and I mean, he's what, second in rookie scoring.
Yeah,
Um,
with several less games played than Bedard.
yeah. So I mean, and he doesn't get any of the attention whatsoever, which is, I mean, in my opinion, great, right?
Yeah.
I'd rather keep him a secret for now.
Can I ask
Like,
you? I don't think he is a secret anymore because a lot of the podcasts I listen to and a lot of the articles I read have blurbs on Zari now. I think people are really starting to take notice, which is I would rather keep him a secret too, but it's also nice to see a guy get his due. Um,
yeah. Well, he deserves to have that respect throughout the league, really.
so I was just listening to myself and how I describe Zari's play, and I was listening to you and how you describe Zari's play. I think he should be an NHL center.
Yeah. I don't see
I
why it
think they
wouldn't be.
should at least try it. As much as Kadri's not going to be a winger anytime soon, I don't think. I think they should maybe try him at center somewhere. I don't know where, but like I was saying, his poise and his ability to make the right play
Yeah.
and be in the right spot, um, that is really important for a center, and I'd like to see them try.
I I mean, aside from the fact that he's been really, really good at the at faceoff this year. Lindholm was also very good as a winger when he was playing with Monahan and Gaudreau.
That's very true. That's very true. And one thing I miss about that is having um, two guys who can win faceoffs on the same line. I mean, I guess you do with Kadri and Zari, although I haven't looked at Zari's faceoff numbers, but
Mm.
even like Ruzdiska and Dubé, like we've got lots of guys who can play center, but I really enjoyed having Monahan with Lindholm that year because when one of them got kicked out, at least you have another guy who's like fairly regularly takes faceoffs, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So
NHL
who
has
would you put on that line? Sharon Govich?
God. That'd be nice. Hey, that would be a really high octane line. I think that would actually be really decent.
Sharangovich, Lindholm, and Zari, with Zari in the middle.
Imagine that.
I'd give her a shot. I mean, obviously honestly that Kadri, Zari, Pospisil line has kind of quieted down in the last couple games. Could be just because Zari's hurt. I do think he drives the team a lot of the time. Never mind just that line.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that makes sense, right? They did score the tying goal yesterday against Vegas, but
Yeah,
you're right. They haven't been as impressive, that's for sure, as they started out with. Um, the one thing that I'm kind of on the fence though when it comes to Zari playing center is I think he would end up losing some of that ability to create the play
because of
because
the
he has
zone
that
defense and what he's supposed to be doing
yeah, and
outside of.
even in the offensive zone, I think his positioning obviously would need to change. So I don't think he would have the flexibility to um, play the sidewall to his advantage and his ability to move the puck around there.
That's right. He's so good at that. That's a good
Yeah.
point. Um, and I guess that's a lot of where I see his poise as being so good is when he's on the
Yeah.
sidewall and where
Yeah.
he wins those battles and then he puts the puck into the right area quite often, right?
Mhm. Yeah, and his puck control and his ability to maintain the puck in those situations. So
His touch passes too. I could go on for ages about how good this kid is. Like
yeah.
I had high hopes when we drafted him. Um, and I know you've heard me talk about him on and off for the last couple of years. Um, because I thought he was the best guy in camp last year, and I thought he was the best guy in camp this year. But I just never thought he would pop like he's popped.
Yeah.
I never thought that I would even have a fleeting thought that he should be a full time NHL center already, or that he should be maybe tried on a first line or anything like that. Um, I definitely thought he would be a middle six guy, but it's really impressive that you know a guy like me who likes to limit expectations on a lot of players. Um, I'm impressed to the point where I want to see him get as many minutes as we can shovel his way, given he's healthy.
I'm excited for the future when I start thinking about players like him and like Peltier and Pospisil and Coronado for that matter. I mean, once he gets back into the lineup, which I'm sure is going to be within the next couple of weeks.
It's got to be right. We have no
Yeah,
shooters.
right. Um, I think a line with Zari and Coronado would look pretty decent. I think the two of them together with the way that Zari can create a play and get the puck to players with mixed in with Coronado's shot, I think that would be pretty deadly.
Yeah, Zari's got some good playmaking skills as well.
Yeah, yeah,
I
absolutely.
remember there was one pass he made the other day. I can't even remember which one it was right now, but I remember we were talking in our group chat, and I was telling our buddy Matt, I was like, "That is what you expect out of Huberto." That he made one pass. It was a touch pass up to Kadri that ended up springing Pospisil for his goal on Sorokin. And I was like, the one where he just completely undressed Sorokin.
Yeah, yeah,
And
that was a beauty shot from beside the net too.
it was, but
Uh,
where the play started,
mm,
somebody got the puck to Zari, and Zari didn't even touch the puck for a fraction of a second and just got it right up to like we don't have enough players that don't stop and think with the puck and just move it right away.
Right.
And Zari does that a lot of the time. And it really pushes play. And I find his ability to move his feet is infectious with his line mates, which is what made Kadri look better. And it's one of the reasons why I'd like to see what if him playing with other guys more often can get them moving their feet more. Maybe he can be infectious throughout the whole lineup instead of just one line.
Yeah, it could potentially be a useful tool, right?
You shouldn't need
You know,
to use a young player as a kickstarter for every line, right? But here we are.
no, but sometimes it's the kids with the energy that you want to use to get the action moving. I think it would work.
Yeah, I totally agree.
So,
Um,
what do we
yeah,
have next coming up? We've got Dallas on the 30th coming into our barn this time. We're gonna have to show them a good time. Any prediction for that game?
I don't think Dallas is going to be. I think they're going to be mad, and I think they're going to be disappointed with their third period last game. So, I don't see it being a 7-4 game. I see it probably being more of a 2-3, 4-2 maybe type of game where it's tight, maybe an empty netter type of thing. I don't have any. I don't know who's going to win that one, man. Like,
I think that's a coin flip, and I think you're absolutely right. I don't think there's any way we're scoring 7 goals in that game.
and I think, especially if Markstrom's back, I don't think they're scoring 7 on us.
Yeah.
I think one thing I just want to mention about Dallas real quick is it is amazing how fun one not really super exciting 7-game series can kind of jumpstart a rivalry that didn't really previously exist. And now, even though we have very few players that remain, or none of the star players that remain from that series, our games against Dallas are still really good. And actually, I think
Yeah.
they're more exciting than any of those playoff games that we had against Dallas. So
Yeah, they're less
and there's some
focused on
hatred there.
defense now.
What's that?
They're less focused on defense now, right?
Yeah.
Than they were in the playoff series.
Yeah. Yeah, because they
Yeah.
don't have bonus anymore, right? They have I can't even remember. Is it Montgomery? I can't remember who their coach is now, but
Yeah.
I know the bonus is in Winnipeg now. So
Then, oh yeah, don't forget to come along for the ride after the game against Dallas. Dylan and I are going to go live and do some recap of that game. We'll be live on YouTube, live on X, and live on Facebook. If you want to tune into that, come on in and chat it up
answer
with
some of
us.
your questions.
Yeah, we like to talk with the people that are watching the show. So that's on Thursday coming up, and then we got Saturday Hockey Night in Canada against Vancouver, which will be a high action game. I'm sure. I'm sure it's going to be loud and fun at the Dome. Um, then then we've got a couple days off on Tuesday against everybody's favorite Minnesota Wild. The Minnesota always comes to town on a Tuesday, don't they?
Yeah, they really like to come to Calgary on boring days, and they like to play
Mhm.
boring hockey.
Mhm.
And they've been pretty bad this year. They won their first game with their new coach today, though. I think it was 3-1.
There it was. Yeah,
So that's
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 something.
interesting. But they're less offensive than they were last year. So maybe they're back to being boring. Who knows? Yeah, it was 3-1
Yeah.
against St. Louis today.
Yeah, they only have 16 points this year. I mean, they're just 1 point ahead of the Oilers.
Yeah,
Wow, interesting. So that'll be a barn burner, I'm sure, next Tuesday. the I'm sure sometime between now and at the end of a Minnesota game, we'll do another recap as well. But make sure you tune in to the after show on Thursday and come have some fun with us.
please do.
Yeah,
It's a lot of
it'll
fun.
be exciting. So we come to the point where we ask everybody to smash that like button, share the show with your friends if you like what we're doing and want to get more people involved in it. Be much appreciated. We're
Yeah,
on
follow us on X at Armchair GM Pod, or sorry, or Armchair GM _ pod. Reddit, we have a Reddit account, Armchair uh, Armchair GM podcast.
hey, that's us.
Yeah, and follow us on Facebook
That's
and
right.
YouTube. Subscribe, hit the bell, all that kind of stuff.
That's right. So everybody, thanks for tuning in for another show, Armchair GM podcast. Cheers.
Cheers.
Go Flames.